The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network, our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross, our gold sponsors, BB&T, now Truist, Fitzpatrick, Lentz & Buba, and Penn Teledata. Our event sponsors, Crayola and Good Shepherd. Our interview sponsor, Follett. And our production sponsor, Countess Communications. We also would like to thank our host, ArtsQuest. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Nestor, President and Chief Executive Officer at Lehigh Valley Health Network. At LVHN, we offer nationally recognized care close to home. Today and every day, our focus is on the health of our community. We know that a healthy community paves the way for a healthy economy. We're proud to partner with Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation as we work together to make the Lehigh Valley strong, vibrant, and safe.
Hi, I'm Don Cunningham, President and CEO of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. Welcome to a segment of our series, Meet the New Executives of the Lehigh Valley. Interestingly, in the last 18 months in the Lehigh Valley, we've had no short of about 12 to 13 different CEOs come in running our major employers and institutions in the Lehigh Valley. And during these challenging times of COVID and quarantine, it's much more difficult for us to meet in person and network and socialize and get to know one another. So we've created this series to allow you to meet the new CEOs of our major employers and for them to talk a little bit about themselves and their companies. And we're really honored and grateful that today we have Todd Shamash, the CEO of Capital Blue Cross, with us. Todd, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Don. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And I want to just briefly tell the folks back at home, Todd became President and CEO of Capital Blue Cross in 2020. He's been at Capital Blue since 2012. Before being named President and CEO, he was the Senior Vice President, the General Counsel, and the Corporate Secretary at Capital Blue. Before that, had a long career in state government in different capacities. He grew up in the Harrisburg area, has been close to Capital Blue from the time he was a kid in Harrisburg. And Todd, let me say that Capital Blue has such a strong presence here in the Lehigh Valley. I don't even know that a lot of folks realize the headquarters in Harrisburg because we view Capital Blue as one of our own. So we're very grateful to have you here to talk a bit about your career trajectory in Capital Blue and the challenges you're facing in the Lehigh Valley market.
No, just flattered to be here. Thank you. I want to thank the LVEDC for inviting me. When I looked at your board, number one, we're proud that Ann Baum, our own Ann Baum from Capital Blue Cross, is on the board. She's our Lehigh Valley executive, and we're just proud of the history, and I don't think people remember necessarily that really we exist because the Central PA Blue Cross and Lehigh Valley Blue Cross merged many decades ago. Right. So for us, Lehigh Valley is home. We have a lot of employees here. Technically, yes, we have not only a building here. I work out of Harrisburg, but Lehigh Valley is just crucial and vital to Capital Blue Cross.
And I'm so glad you mentioned Ann Baum. I don't think there's anybody in our business community, economic development community, or community organizations that doesn't know Ann. Ann's a real force for Capital Blue here in the Lehigh Valley market. Represents you very, very well here.
Thank you. We're proud to have her on the team. Part of my goal is just to try to keep up with her, but she's great.
As we were preparing to talk to you today, I was looking back at the history of Capital Blue and the Lehigh Valley, and your roots actually go back to the 1930s. I believe in the Easton Hospital Association, which became Blue Cross of the Lehigh Valley. And as the Blues transitioned, I think it probably left a lot of people not fully understanding the lineage, but back to the 1930s, you're coming up on 90 plus years of presence in the Lehigh Valley.
Quite a bit of history. You know, if you ask my 10-year-old daughter, she would probably ask me what it was like back then, and I got to tell her that I don't quite recall, but just a proud history. I'm proud to be leading the organization, you know, really coming together of hospitals and the need to finance healthcare. That's really how the Blues nationwide started. And we really benefit from that as a company, but also our customers do. And let me explain.
Yeah.
In one sense, and I'm biased, but I'm going to say it anyway, I think we are different than other health plans. We can't rely on other states. This is our home. Our employees live here. We work here. And we think at the end of the day, that makes a difference. And let me explain. It doesn't mean that we don't have to meet the right pricing. It doesn't mean we, of course, have to perform, have the right technology, serve our customers. But at the end of the day, I still think people want to do business with their neighbors. People want to do business in their community. You know, one of the things we're proud of, whether the economy was good or not so good, we've always been in Allentown, and we continue to have a building in Allentown. One of the things, actually, I was glad to be invited here today to talk about. I'm actually announcing a multi-million-dollar renovation of our Allentown headquarters. That started just a couple weeks ago during the pandemic, and you're going to see some construction there.
That's at 12th and Hamilton.
It is.
Downtown. You've been down there a long time.
Yes.
So as kind of part of the whole renovation and revitalization of Center City, Allentown,
It is. I view it as a gateway project, and we've been talking not only to yourselves, but other members of the economic development community about it. Certainly public officials have been supportive. So really, even though we're outside the NIS, which has seen just great things happen for downtown center of Allentown, we're outside of that zone technically. So we just think it's a nice project, not only for the neighborhood, for Capital Blue Cross, but for the city and the county.
Yeah, and it's really important on the boundaries for the folks that might not realize the neighborhood improvement zone in downtown Allentown, which is 130-acre incentive zone to see commercial and residential development. But around the borders of that, you need to continue that growth, and just being outside of it and committing to capital improvements and really kind of putting stakes down even more permanently is really important, because as you know, in the Lehigh Valley, as we define it, is Lehigh County, Northampton County, the three cities of Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, 62 municipalities. But the revitalization of the cities and the ongoing reinvention has been so critical to the economic success. And having corporate offices and employees downtown is critical. So that's very significant.
Yeah, we're excited about it. And another thing which I think you'll find interesting, but maybe music to your ears at LVEDC, you know, when we've seen growth in some of our subsidiaries, and we have some companies that are located even out of state, what we found is the workforce here is super in quality, hardworking, and our intent with our new building is to grow the number of jobs here. Yeah. So as some of our subsidiaries grow, actually some of the back office growth will be here in Allentown.
Oh, that's great.
And we're excited about that.
That's fantastic. And as you know, over the last 5 years, we've just been seeing great economic growth in the Lehigh Valley, and a great economic output and job creation. One of the central things that we work on as a regional economic development corporation is talent supply, trying to align skills development with the needs of the economy. So that's something we're really priding ourselves on. So we appreciate that. It's got to be interesting coming in, starting the new job as CEO in April.
Timing is everything.
Right? Right. Again, as we all know, the world somewhat changed March 15th as the pandemic took hold and we went into quarantine. A challenging time to start in a new job, right?
In some ways it was yesterday, in other ways it feels like 5 years ago, but love to talk to you about it. You know, you think back even a couple months, we, like other large employers, are less comfort with people traveling. Right. But really in early March, as I was moving into the new role, it became clear to us, just like other employers, that we had to go remote. So, you know, you question yourself, You question your key staff, like, can we maintain services? Can we do the vital things our members need? Can we make sure we process claims? Can we make sure to serve our customers? I'm sitting here today, a very proud leader. We moved efficiently over 3 weeks into about 95% remote. Didn't miss a beat. Some of the investments we made.
And that's with what you say about 1,800 employees.
Correct. So overall, we're close to 2,000. But each day in our main building, I come to work probably with about 50 employees spread throughout the building, trying to be safe, but also, of course, the mission of maintaining services for our members. Another thing certainly that's grown is telehealth and virtual care. We were proud of our innovation several years ago. On your smartphone with the Capital Blue Cross app, you can see a doctor. So for us at home, we had a child strep throat issue. Instead of going to urgent care, we tried it for the first time, and I got to tell you, it's easier, it's convenient.
Yeah.
But during COVID, it went from a few hundred visits to over half of our doctor visits. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of doctor visits were done virtually through telehealth.
So this situation has to be a tremendous accelerator for usage and adoption of that in the general public, right? I mean, because
Absolutely.
I know at LVDC we use Capital Blue, and we've had that available to us, and some folks have, kind of entered into as early adopters into telehealth. Others are more reluctant to do it, but in a situation like this, people jump in, do it, and they realize that's a good thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, people really didn't have other choices.
Yeah.
And
they don't want to go to the doctor office.
Yeah,
right?
so we were pleased, we were fortunate. We also, through careful planning, had that available for our members. But also the major health systems, you have the great health systems right here, right? Lehigh Valley Health, St. Luke's, Good Shepherd. We saw the increase of those doctors using telehealth, and we were glad and pleased and proud to work with them, and those visits increased exponentially. So it's been an accelerant,
Right.
and I think in some way it has subsided a little bit, but I do think telehealth and virtual care is here to stay, and I think we're going to be a part of that.
That's interesting. And what, operating during this period from March into the late summer and fall, is it a different environment for a healthcare provider, or is it the same and a little different? I mean, there's some kind
Sure.
of things that have changed in that period.
Yeah, I think healthcare has never been a slow industry, but a couple things. You mentioned acceleration. Just the use, not only of technology for care, but increasing use of remote technology. If you're a diabetic, we need to do a better job working with you, working with the doctor to manage your care overall, but I think virtual gives us another tool. And I think more and more through this, people will get comfortable using those tools where before there just wasn't a need to even try. So monitoring someone's blood glucose level, I think is just going to be done virtually more and more. I think we can get better at it. But I also have to sit here and admit, I think the healthcare industry really has a way to go connecting with consumers. If you think how easy it is to shop for virtually anything on your phone, I don't think healthcare yet has really cracked the code to be able to take technology and make it truly seamless. Right. That's something we work on every day. We have a team, we call it consumer experience, and we know we have to get better at it. Yeah. I think the people all throughout the Lehigh Valley are fortunate. There's a lot of competition. There are days where certainly I wish there was a little less competition, but I got to tell you, it's made us a better company. Yeah. It's made us a better staff. We have to earn customers every day, not only the ones we have, but the ones we want to attract. And I also think competition is healthy for the consumer. They have choices. So if we're going to do everything we can to get it right, because we know there's another company right beside us that is willing to step in.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make. I mean, we've been fortunate in Lehigh Valley. We've had competition in health networks and healthcare providers and then insurance companies as well, which has to be an advantage for not only our consumers but our companies who are really probably your kind of funnel point in to a lot of the consumers, right? Do you have a sense of in the Lehigh Valley market, either by percentage or sales, how that fits into the whole scheme of Capital Blue Cross? How many customers you may have here, and is where that puts us in the rank of your 21 counties?
Sure. Not going into specifics and numerics, I got to tell you, when you look at the major employers here, when you look at the lineup of interviews that I think you're going to have, we're proud that a lot of those key important businesses are our customers. Right. So for us, I don't think we are the company that we are today without the Lehigh Valley, without the support we have in the Lehigh Valley, without the work Ann Baum does every day. For us, the Lehigh Valley is just, as I mentioned at the very beginning, just vital. So percentage-wise, I don't know that I have that statistic, but I know, our major businesses really drive through the Lehigh Valley. I think Central PA certainly has seen growth over the last couple years, but when you look at the last 5-10 years, the Lehigh Valley has really led Pennsylvania in growth, in economic development. The partnerships that you have here between business leaders, between sponsors, between what those businesses do for the community, I actually think is unique. And spending more time and growing up in Central PA, to see what you have here is just very exciting, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for saying that. We're real proud of the organization that I'm fortunate to run, the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. Really is just a coalition of private employers, counties, cities, to work on economic development strategies, job creation. We work closely with higher ed to try to work on skills alignment. So the curriculum at our vocational technical schools or our community colleges and our high schools are lined up with what the economy needs, sure. Which is always sometimes a tough alignment. But the private sector really has driven these partnerships, and companies like Capital Blue and boards like the Lehigh Valley Chamber and LVEDC have been behind that. And fortunately, we're sitting here on the site of the old Bethlehem Steel at the ArtsQuest Center. 20 years on, the economy is better today actually than it was back in the late 90s, and it's because of that regionalism and companies committing to it, and capital's been a big part of that. So you're clearly a young man to be in a CEO position and had a kind of a rocket trajectory in your career. You have young kids, 12 and 10 years old, and you find yourself in this position and during some challenging times. What are your thoughts going forward? You obviously have a long-term view of healthcare. You have things to do in the immediate term, but what do you kind of see as where Capital Blue may be heading over the next few years and where the industry as a whole may be going?
Sure. We are just so excited about our future. Capital Blue Cross, even with heavy competition, we're growing. We're growing not only in the Lehigh Valley, but other places. And that excites us. We're also looking for new ways to innovate. Earlier, you and I talked about virtual care. I think the healthcare industry generally is going to have to continue to improve and get better at what we do. And it really has to make it meaningful for each person, for each patient. So we talk about treating customers how we would want to be treated. And just when you think of the level of competition, and we talked about that before, in that if we don't step up each and every day, the company next door will. And that makes us a lot stronger. I think we continue to push and work with businesses every day, but we're going to have to keep getting better every day. Right. I mean, for me, coming out of government service, it's also a mix. We've had very good stability over time as a company. We don't jump in and out of markets. Again, this is our home, right? Our products are here. We want to serve people long term. We don't have shareholders where we're trying to meet a profit margin. And I think at the end of the day, that matters to people. It's doing the right thing each and every day. Yeah, but it's not just what we do with price and with products. I can't stress enough, I know we talked about it before, but I'm going to say it again. what we do, what we mean, the impact we make in the community is just vitally important for Capital. That's part of who we are. We encourage our leaders to get involved civically. I look forward to continuing that tradition. It's taken me a while to learn as a leader. I'm only as good as the team. So when I think about our resources, it's not our capitalization, it's not our services, and I think we do well in both. It's our people. So I used to think, well, if I just work harder, if I work longer hours,
Right.
that's not gonna get it. It's really our team, and so I'm just so excited about the people we've recruited, and just so capably represents us here in the Lehigh Valley, and we're just excited about the future.
So it's interesting to hear you talk about leadership and things you learn, and because I think it's a lifelong learning process of leading folks, and you certainly came in at a very challenging period of time. Are there some things that are different than maybe what you've expected, or things you've had to change in your style or your approach, either because of the uniqueness of the COVID era, or just the uniqueness of becoming a relatively young guy, becoming CEO of a major employer?
Well, coming into this role in April, I can't really define what normal is because I've only known
Right.
This role in a pandemic. But we take a step back, and I try to do this, maybe not every day, but it's important. When you consider the problems and thinking about how to run a business, we also have to remember some important things right now. There are people in line at food banks. There are people unemployed, right? The unemployment rate is extremely high. So we need to continue to step up, not only for our customers, but in our community. And I think we've done that. So one of the first things we did with the team is not only make sure we could operate remotely, we increased our community budget significantly because we knew frontline things like housing, food, just the necessities of life just were front and center. Right. So of course we've taken steps, giving people more time to pay premiums, doing the things that I think people expect us to do. We're doing those, but I think we're doing more, and we have to do those each and every day. I think what we thought was going to be a difficult sprint here with COVID obviously is not. It's going to be a long-term way to operate. Right. We're looking at our workforce. Some jobs, we have to measure productivity in a new way. Mm-hmm. Should some jobs be remote on a more permanent basis? I like the team approach. At the end of the day, I would like the teams back in. I think you get the camaraderie, knowing people, walking down the hall. But we're going to all have to think, whether healthcare or other industries, we're going to have to think differently.
Yeah, so you've been forced into a period of innovation and change right at the beginning because you have to react to the situation that's at hand. I think it's pretty powerful where you say, I don't know any difference. This is normal for me. This is where I've been.
This is what we get. The hard part right now is not only dealing with what's in front of you. You really have to think about 21 and 22. Right. It's going to be here before you know it. Certainly in healthcare, the government and the public-private partnership is going to play a role, right? We're going to have to adapt again, I think, regardless of the election results here in November. But I think Capital does well, again, being the stable partner. We were one of the first CHIP programs in the state. Mm-hmm. We're still in the CHIP program, but just about every other plan is different.
And that's Children's Health?
Correct, that's the Children's Health Insurance Program. So to me, it's about doing the right things from a business perspective, but at the end of the day, we have to do the right things in the community. And when you blend those two, that's why I want to be.
Well, the only way, and in your industry, the only way to prepare for the future is do what you can in real time, because there's so many elements of healthcare that you can't control. The national discussion, all those issues around what will happen post-election, that you can only control what you can control and still try to do it. And let me say, as we're just getting towards a conclusion here, I think we could talk probably for an hour. This is very interesting, and I think a topic that everybody is deeply concerned about and interested in. If you could tell folks in the Lehigh Valley who haven't met you yet, just on a personal level, one or two things about Todd Shamash that they should know if you're at a cocktail party and you're talking about what is it you do when you're not worrying and focused on getting your professional job done.
Sure. Usually when I'm not working or, right now on conference calls and Zoom meetings, I'm usually, for a while I had been the second assistant soccer coach or baseball coach. So for me, it's being a dad and plugging in at home.
And that's what age group of soccer?
12 and 10.
12 and 10.
12 and 10.
Yeah.
So I'm either, in a healthcare discussion or in a playing time, who's up to bat discussion. And for me, just throwing yourself into family, community, and business, that keeps me going, that excites me. I mean, for me as a new leader, I have a lot of people to meet. Obviously, my deliberate transition lasted about 35 seconds due to COVID, but I know I have to earn some trust. I have to meet some leaders. I look forward to doing that here in the Lehigh Valley, and I just really appreciate LVEDC giving me a chance.
We thank you for that, and that's the whole point of doing this interview and this interview series is to let people get to know who you are, to know you're there. And I think anybody who took the half hour to listen to this is going to feel really good about the leadership of Capital Blue and its role in the Lehigh Valley. So thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for the work you do here along with Ann and all the other folks here in the Lehigh Valley.
Thank you, and look forward to it.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another episode of New Executive Lehigh Valley Series.
We're all doing what we can to stop the spread of COVID-19, and that includes wearing a mask when out in public. How you remove your mask matters too. Take it off from the back and be careful not to touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Make sure to wash your hands when you're done. You should also wash your mask after each use. Keep masks you've worn in a sealed container until you can wash them. And remember, my mask protects you and your mask protects me.
The new executive series would not be possible without the tremendous support of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have continuously supported the LVEDC mission during this time. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Lehigh Valley Health Network, our premier sponsor, Capital Blue Cross, our gold sponsors, BB&T, now Truist, Fitzpatrick, Lentz & Buba, and Penn Teledata, our event sponsors, Crayola and Good Shepherd, our interview sponsor, Follett, and our production sponsor, Countess Communications. We also would like to thank our host, ArtsQuest. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We hope you enjoy the new executive series.